Riding two up on a motorcycle looks incredible, but what you don't usually see is everything happening behind the scenes. We get asked all the time how we manage long rides, changing weather, luggage, and when things go wrong, all while riding together on one bike. So we've decided to revisit our past journeys to share some of the real logistics of our trips. If you're new here, we're Two Up Travels. Over the last 3 years, we've been exploring two up on a motorcycle, from the remote outback of Australia to the vistas of New Zealand and spectacular roads and cities in Japan. We visited some iconic landmarks, encountered some amazing people, and stayed in all types of places on our travels. And although the trusty Ox, our 2010 model Super Tenere, has been our main touring bike, we love to jump on Susie Bike, our GXX 1400, or hire a bike such as the amazing Heritage Softail we hired in New Zealand, or Yumoji, a 900 Rally Pro we teamed up with in Japan. We hope to inspire other couples to jump on a bike together, take the back roads, and discover new people and places. To show how we travel two up, what we've learned along the way, and what we wished we'd known better. Episode 1, Riding Overseas, Finding a Bike, Costs, and all that fun stuff. First thing to decide is, where we're going to go. Right now, our overseas riding trips are shaped by work commitments and the Australian seasons. Summer riding at home can be brutal. So our first overseas trip to New Zealand was simply about escaping the heat. It's only about a 3-hour flight from our home and fitted perfectly into the 2 weeks that we had available. Japan came about a bit differently. Our kids suggested a family holiday. The dates lined up with the Japanese MotoGP, and that was it. Decision done. Next most important thing, let's find a bike. Like most travellers, we start on the computer with lots and lots of searching. For New Zealand, we specifically wanted a Harley, which led us to Bularangi motorcycles. In Japan, we weren't fussy about the bike itself, and we stumbled upon UB Touring in our searches. One thing we always consider is where the bike pickup and drop-off is located. We try to avoid jumping on an unfamiliar bike two up in the middle of a major city. An easier exit makes a big difference. Paying the deposit was the point of no return, and that's when the trip really becomes real and that all-important route planning begins. The next most important thing, how much did it cost? In Australia, we budgeted roughly around $320 a day for accommodation, fuel, food, and incidentals, balancing cheaper nights with the occasional upgrade. Overseas, those costs can escalate quickly. In New Zealand and Japan, accommodation was closer to $250 a night. And in Japan, we often chose slightly higher end places simply because we just didn't know what to expect. Accommodation locations also matter. After a long riding day, all we want is some food, a supermarket, and a beer within walking distance. If we are staying out of town, we'll usually shop before checking in. I like to know where we're sleeping, so we do tend to pre-book most accommodation using booking.com or Expedia platforms, taking advantage of free cancellation and pay at the property options. The two unavoidable extra overseas costs are flights and bike hire. We've found that our average cost per day is around $700 when travelling overseas, and this isn't including flights. But this is pretty high, and you could definitely do it cheaper if, let's say, your pillion wasn't as fussy as ours is. Okay, so what do we take? I prefer to wear my own helmet, but carrying riding gear overseas quickly turns into a luggage challenge. On both trips, we were able to leave empty suitcases at the hire company. One suitcase carried our riding gear, and the other all the other stuff we needed. If you're doing the tourist travel after the ride and don't want to carry your helmet around, consider hiring one, but just make sure it actually fits. Trust me, this is important. We didn't take the Garmin with us on our overseas trip, but instead used Google Maps or offline OSM maps. Just grab a SIM card at the airport when you arrive. Wet weather gear is non-negotiable, and we also carry some basic cooking and small esky for leftovers and cold drinks, plus the bike lock and cover for security and overnight rainstorms. Here's some handy things to know. The extras add up fast. Airport parking, Ubers, getting to the hire bike, and travel insurance. Insurance is essential. And make sure it covers motorcycles. We use Covermore with the motorcycle add-on. In non-English speaking countries, learn a few of the basics and download Google Translate. But remember, it only works with phone service. Communication can still be tricky, but that's all part of the adventure. Breakdowns? Well, they're always possible, so only hire from companies with solid backup plans. We needed help in New Zealand, and Bularangi had us back on the road before we knew it. Also, carry some local currency. Avoid those airport exchange counters in Australia and use a debit card for ATMs, plus a credit card linked to your frequent flyer points. And finally, is it worth it? For us, a 10-day overseas flight, including flights, bike hire, 3 to 4 star accommodation, and 2 meals a day, works out to be around $850. It's more than riding at home, but it's absolutely worth it. We love meeting people, getting off the tourist track, experience new cultures at our own pace, solving problems as they come, and doing what we love wherever we are. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, big thumbs up, like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.